You're here today because we're interviewing about one of your favourite books.
Yep.
Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Martyr, Prophet and Spy.
That's the book. Do you like the title?
It's interesting, mate, to be honest, but yeah. So, 2 questions today. First off, what is your connection with this book?
Well, okay, so Bonhoeffer, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, lived in the early part of last century. My connection with this book is he's a Christian minister, so he's very much like me. A friend of mine put me onto this book, or Dietrich Bonhoeffer as a person, and he was raised as a non-Christian. He wasn't raised in a Christian family. He became a Christian, then became a minister. Incredibly intelligent man. At the age of 21, he received his doctorate, which most people are in their 30s, 40s, even 50s. I know, so he's a massively intelligent man, but a very moral man also, because he became a minister in the Protestant church and the church in Germany. But then Hitler came to fame and Hitler rose. And in 1933, Hitler was elected into government. Bonhoeffer was a few days after he was elected, Bonhoeffer spoke publicly against Hitler. A lot of the church was supporting Hitler, and Hitler was seeking the church's support. Bonhoeffer, in a radio program, was speaking against Hitler. The radio program got cut off halfway through. This is in 1933. And so Bonhoeffer knew that he was in a dangerous path of what he was treading. He actually left that church, set up his own church called the Confessing Church, because he didn't like the way that the church was supporting Nazis. And so he set up his own church in one way to oppose Nazis. He went to England to become a pastor. He then went to America in 1939. He had to flee in one sense because his name was on the list of people to be watched. He ended up coming back to Germany because he thought he felt slack. Why am I over here safe when my brothers and sisters are in Germany and they could lose their lives or they're under threat? So he actually went back. His friends told him not to come back. Look, to cut a long story short, he was involved in the assassination plots of Hitler. He was involved in helping some Jews escape to Switzerland. He was working for the Abwehr, which is the German military intelligence. He was a double agent. So it's a long book. It's a biography. I love biographies. I love reading about people, but it's got it all. It's got theology. It's got spies. It's got wars. He ended up being hung. To finish it off, he was in 1945. They could hear at a place called Flossenburg in East Germany. They could hear the Allied forces coming. It was only a week later that Flossenburg was liberated. He was hung with piano wire, and the people who saw him being hung just said they'd never seen a man so at peace with God. And so I'm just amazed by this man, of his courage, his academic ability, his Christian character, and he was willing to go against the Nazis, but he was willing to go against his own church because he thought the church had got it wrong. He's just such an inspiration.
Yeah, geez, that's cool. And the second question, if you could share this book with everyone for one reason, what would it be?
I think it's for that reason because he's an inspiration. And he actually, some people say he failed because he got killed and they didn't assassinate Hitler. They tried so many times. But in one sense, he was a failure because he didn't achieve what he wanted to achieve. But in another sense, he's a hero because when Germany tried to, or began to rebuild, they could look at people like Bonhoeffer and go, not all Germans were Nazis. Not all Germans supported Hitler, but a lot of them opposed him. They struggled in their opposition because they didn't have enough who would oppose him. But it was people like Bonhoeffer that the Germans could rebuild. And even today, people like me and others are talking about him, and they can lift their heads up high and say, we can go forward as a nation, we can go forward as a people, because there were people who opposed Hitler. So for me, and as a Christian, I'm just totally inspired. There's some other books that he's written. Well, he didn't write his own biography, obviously, but there's some books that he's written about the cost of discipleship, about ethics. I just wish he would have lived more to write more because he's such a brilliant theologian, such a brilliant man. But for me, he's an inspiration of what people can do to stand up against evil, but also of what a place a Christian can play in society and stand up against evil and honour Christ in the way that they live in a very, very difficult situation.
Wonderful. Well, thanks, Rev, very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Cheers.